I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. When it's sink or swim, only option is to win. In the murky water, not a thought of giving in. I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. When it's sink or swim, only option is to win. In the murky water, not a thought of giving in. Welcome to the shrimp tank. Wanna put it all together, this is big things. Doing big things, chasing big dreams. Yeah, it's all real, this life's all that it seems. All the chicks scream, all the dudes yell. This is just what I do and I do it well. With the flow fresher than the new shoe smell. Going through hell, well homie keep going. You know the saying, you can reap what you sow in. So I don't chase girls, I just chase dreams. Play the same game, but we ain't in the same league. Running a campaign, Roby 2016. Like a phone to die, putting me in charge. I'm a general, from the front I'ma lead the charge. Like a federal, fell on my lap never. Going hard as ever.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank powered by Celsius Beverage. If this is your first time tuning into the Shrimp Tank, catch all these amazing episodes up on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com, and of course on all the podcast apps. Every week, we bring you the best and brightest entrepreneurs down here from South Florida. Always find the do's and don'ts of running a business. That's why we always say it's where street smarts and book smarts collide, because we run this in collaboration with the Florida Atlantic University. Joined by my co-host today, Dr. Roland Kidwell. Roland,
hello.
What's going on? I saw you promoting Celsius when you were on tour overseas. Tell us what's new.
Yeah, well, I just got back from Scotland. I was there for a month, and it's kind of interesting because my wife, who's an accounting professor, is a very big fan of Outlander, that TV show. And we made some connections with some entrepreneurs who've started their businesses and grown their businesses based on doing things regarding that show, whether it's tours or products or a variety of other elements. And so we're working on a research project now with a set of interviews with some of these Outlander folks. And other than that, we had a great time seeing Scotland.
Where are you going next? I feel like every month you're going somewhere new. I'm always excited to see your social media.
Yeah, I'll take it under advisement, let you know. I'll plead the fifth on that for now, and I'll get back to you. But yeah, we got a few things going on. But yeah, I was at Ben Nevis, the highest mountain in the United Kingdom, and had my little Celsius shirt on. And yeah, it was kind of like trying to get the beverage a little bit more worldwide attention. They are in England.
So tell us how other countries really see entrepreneurship. Like in the United States, it's obviously hotter than ever, right? It's the cool thing to do. Back in the 70s, 80s, like entrepreneurship wasn't that cool. My father was an entrepreneur. No one looked at it the same way as they do today. So when you're in these other countries, is it just as hot as the United States, or they look at it a little differently?
Well, I think it's very cool in terms of having the opportunities to start something that you believe in and grow. And there's a lot of pride, at least where we were. There was an individual who had a company that manufactures Highland tartan, and trying to get that specifically tied to the Highlands of Scotland, which is a subset, a part of Scotland. But basically trying to grow that business, grow that as a sustainable business. And I think one of the other elements that's there that we have here, of course, is family business, and generations and generations of large family businesses. And they're entrepreneurial in the sense that they're looking for new things for the next generation to do. So you've got existing family businesses spinning off new entrepreneurial family businesses. And so I feel like there's a lot of opportunity worldwide in terms of entrepreneurship.
Good time to buy a business, with the amount of baby boomers out there that have boring businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
That don't have a buyer on the other end. And I'm seeing the rise of business brokers, right?
Yep.
Our friends over at the Shrimp Tank Atlanta, Ted Jenkin, who was a top 10 financial advisor, sold his financial service practice, and now he's a business broker. And I'm hearing from him like the amount of opportunities out there where they're buying businesses, that are doing $1 million of revenue for $1 million, but obviously, someone that is good with technology could step in and just layer on AI technology, good employees, and pretty much just, knock it out of the park, turn it into a $3 million business within 12 months. And no one wants these opportunities. They're out there everywhere. Most people, want to start from scratch and build a company from 0 to 1 million, which, it's pretty hard to do that. Sometimes it's easier, go out and get private financing from that buyer who might provide it, or an SBA loan. And we've heard from a lot of our past entrepreneurs, like that's how they got going in their business. It wasn't always 0 to 100 right?
Yeah, you don't want necessarily have to reinvent the wheel.
Don't.
I mean, there's a lot of opportunity there, and it's in place for you. But you have this sense, well, if I'm creating this thing, this is mine. But you're still recreating it, and you're taking it to the next level.
Yes, which we're going to bring in our guests today because it's a familiar industry, real estate, right? And it's done many times over and over again, but she has a unique way that she's bringing on clientele. And I'm excited to hear from her because we're starting to see shifts in the market, and we haven't had someone in the real estate profession really come onto the show in some time now. So, Sarah, welcome to the Shrimp Tank. To start things off, can you just share with our audience about just your experience as an entrepreneur and what you're up to today? I know you're doing multiple things, not just real estate.
Right. Oh, thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys having me today on the show. Um, where do I begin? So, like you, Jason, I'm born and raised in New York, and I graduated NYU and was supposed to go to law school, as my parents had said I should do. And instead, I started a company right out of college. So the entrepreneurship bug hit me very early on.
Was that in your family bloodline?
No,
Not so much.
absolutely not. My
No.
dad's an engineer. He works for the MTA, and my mom was an insurance agent. And she made me get my insurance license at like 17 so that I would, just in case, have
What type
something
of
to fall
insurance? Property casualty or like the
Property
life?
casualty.
Oh, yeah. So that's where the bug came from. Because once you're in the insurance business, even though it's not technically like some would consider like a true like starting your own business, but it's very entrepreneurial, right? And
Correct.
eventually, lots of times people go from working for someone and to creating their own business,
Brokerage,
which is what I did as a financial advisor, or you could say insurance agent. In my early days, of course.
Right. And, watching my mother be an insurance agent from a very young age, I saw how she handled her clients and how important it was for her to provide top service to them. So that was always something in the back of my mind. I knew that if you wanted to be successful, if you wanted to, continue on in your profession, you had to provide that. So early on, it's great when you're young and you take chances because when you look back, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. But I did. I had a friend whose parents gave us basically, an empty check and said, we're going to let you guys run your own business. Here's a free space in Soho. This was 1999. And they're like, go for it. You guys want to do something? Try it. And, my friend actually never worked a day in her life. And then we brought in another person who I had interned with. And we were like, okay, we're going to try this. And my parents said, you're crazy. I did not just pay for NYU for you to start a business. And they're like, you're on your own. You want to do this? We're not paying for it. And that really taught me early on that you had to either sink or swim. So I was like determined to not fail. And, obviously you do so many things wrong when you have no real experience, but you have grit and, you want to try. So we started this company where we were producers for photo shoots. And we were in the heart of like Soho. So all the magazines and ad agencies were there. And I would literally knock door to door, which you don't do, and introduce myself.
Especially in New York City.
Exactly.
You're talking Soho. You're
I was
knocking on the wrong door.
I'm not going to
Dangerous.
exactly. And so
But back then it was acceptable. Today, no
was.
one's door knocking.
Nobody's
People
door
are
knocking.
cold calling. But back then, to get customers, you did everything. I remember I would go in Queens to a mall and have a tabletop. And I was a financial advisor, and I was just trying to get people to my booth. You try everything under the sun,
everything.
and things don't embarrass you as much back then. You just kind of go with it. So I completely understand where you're coming from.
So this is your idea to start this particular business?
The photo shoot?
Yeah, right.
Yes.
That was okay.
It was my idea because I had interned for a very successful company in college. So, we thought, well, why not? We could try this. So we would produce shoots for magazines for free. And we were so proud of ourselves because our names would be credited and we would show everyone. And my mom's like, but does this pay the bills? I'm like, but it will. It will. And I was from the generation of you need to pay your dues before something would happen. That generation doesn't exist anymore. So I understand, but I'm glad I did that. And I ended up getting hired by a big company 2 years into this. And they allowed me to move to Los Angeles to open up a photo studio in LA. And I sort of brought that New York vibe to LA. And that's where I met my husband, and ended up staying. I thought I was only going to be in LA for a year, and it ended up being 20. And we opened it was a pretty successful photo studio, and I did that for about 7 years. And then I opened up another company by myself. I opened up an agency where I represented children's photography. And, it's just like you put yourself in a position where people know you and see your work ethic, and they want to bring you into their team. And after I had my twins, my third set of kids, someone approached me to get into healthcare. It was so random. It was out of my wheelhouse, but it was marketing, right? And honestly, if you've marketed one thing, you can market another, because the business may be different, but the principles and ideas of how to be successful are the same.
Yeah.
And so I got my administrator's license for a healthcare company, and I started working on a big project with Cedars-Sinai in 2013. And I've actually been with them ever since, even now. During the pandemic, with 4 kids at home, we couldn't take it. My husband works for UCLA as a computer programmer. He was working remote, and the hospitals were shut down. I mean, the hospitals weren't, but you weren't able to go in anywhere. So I was working from home, and we were like, we could do this anywhere. And we're like, let's pick up and move to Florida, because my parents are still in New York and I wanted to be closer to the East Coast. So we decided to try it out for a little
I'm
bit.
really happy about this, because your husband comes to my poker game and pretty much gives me his money every single
Yes,
Friday.
I've
So
heard of
I'm
that.
really happy that
You're
decision
welcome.
happened.
I'm so happy we could benefit you.
For everyone listening, it's like $40 on a Friday. It's not that
Exactly.
much money.
It's not a lot. And I've heard there's like 10 guys named Michael. Everyone there is named Michael. So we moved here, and I did not think my company would allow me to continue on working remote. So I started to take a step back in my early to mid 40s and be like, what do I want to do? Because at this point, I've proven my success track in my businesses before. And I'm like, if I'm going to start something new, because there's always a learning curve. There's always a period of time where you, for lack of a better word, you'll have to eat dirt for a while until you actually see any success. So what am I going to focus my time and energy into if I'm taking away from something that's paying me, I'm comfortable, and my children? And so I started to really think about it, and I'm like, I've always loved real estate. And my husband said, you know what? Get your license. Even if you do nothing, everybody here has a real estate license. Just get your license and see. And so I honestly thought I was going to be like one of these other people. Every third person, as you know, in our community has a license. And so I thought, okay, maybe I'll just do it for my own properties. But knowing my personality, if I'm going to do something, I have to do it to its fullest potential. I'm not going to do something, for lack of better words, half-ass. I just won't. And so I got in, and my first year, I made 10 million in sales, not personally in sales. My second year, I did 12 million. And this year, I've already done 34 million.
So your business started in 2021, 22? Or?
Yes. But ironically, that wasn't the best time to start.
Right.
Because the interest rates, as you know, were low. And as a new agent, what you have are buyers, right? No one's giving you to sell there. And everyone thinks that a house can sell itself. So people really weren't using agents for selling. And there were so many buyers and not enough homes. I mean, you literally had to offer up your kidney to try to get a home under contract. So it was really eye-opening and a massive learning experience for me, really thrown into it. Because I joined a team, but a team can only do so much. I wasn't planning to be anyone's assistant, right? So the clients I got were my own from, referrals or people that, found me and wanted to work with me. And so I had to learn on my own how to, meet the agent on the other side and get them.
And usually you were a buyer's agent.
Correct.
Is that what distinguishes your company from other companies?
So I'm with a brokerage. I'm a principal agent with Compass, but I specifically chose Compass for the brand. for the name and for their technology. And I truly believe the technology that I was given, their platforms, the CRM that I learned how to use, I was able to efficiently provide assistance to my clients and get them, to realize, which property, identify which property they want, and we would get under contract very quickly. So, I know a lot of people's goals are to own their own brokerage. It's not necessarily the best thing to do.
So you come to a new place, you've never lived here.
Exactly.
So walk us through kind of the strategy you use to build up this base of clients. What did you do?
So the first thing I did was I hired a social media manager, and I started really leaning into social media and figuring out how I can provide an authentic voice online where people could see, this is someone I want to work with. This is someone who has experienced the things that I have either experienced or will experience in life, and I want to rely on her for that information. And I think that's so important because you have the option to work with anyone. And while there may be someone who's a top producer or been in it for 20 years, but you may not like them. Like most businesses, it's all relationship based, right? And so I leaned heavy on my social media. I also leaned heavy on my my sphere of influence, my friends, my clients, my family. But that I wouldn't say is really where you're going to get a lot of business. I fly back to California every 6 weeks. And, I make connections. I make connections with the offices there, the people there, and also my friends and family that see what I'm doing and the value. I like to do value added information about the city, about the state, and people really take to it, and they recommend me whenever they hear someone's interested in either investing in Florida or moving to Florida or helping their parents relocate.
California is a great market for people wanting to move to Florida.
100%.
Absolutely.
I've definitely done a nice little target as to comparing. At first I started out as a relocation specialist, someone who would relocate you from California to Florida, and my experience and what I see, comparing apples to apples in terms of what you're going to get there versus here, and the pros and the cons. And honestly, I don't sugarcoat it because, like we've all mentioned before, this is a relationship based business. Like, I'm not going to lie. If there are things that I don't think are better, I'm just going to say, this isn't the right fit for you. This is not the right property for you. It's not the right time for you to move. And I think people appreciate that because they know that I'm not in it, just to get a dollar from them. Does that make sense?
Do you focus on specific areas down here or not so much? Because the buyers coming in from California, for example, and they're just looking for, like, one couple's looking for a good school district. The next couple's saying, I want something on the ocean. So is there a specific niche you have down here? And then obviously listings could be a tad different because more of your listings could be
Right.
one area like Parkland, for example.
So I focused really on Palm Beach County.
Okay.
So, and Parkland, obviously, because I live here and I know it. I think it's best for you to focus. Any agent is going to be successful if they're hyper local, right? So why you would choose me over someone else is because I can tell you specifically, what it's like to live in this area or work in this area or be here. And so I focus on Boca, Del Rey, Boynton, Highland Beach, Parkland, Deerfield, that little angle, really. I don't go into Fort Lauderdale. I don't go into Miami, but, I do have agents that I trust that I can refer someone to, but I personally won't do that because it's a disservice to my clients if I were to say I
And
could.
are you starting to shift where you're getting more of the listings now?
I am.
Because you're getting a name for yourself. You do a lot of branding. Obviously, I see a flyer right
Yes.
here. You do a lot with social media. Do a lot in the with PR companies locally, for example. I saw you on stage last time we met.
Right.
Right. So, what's the balance now? Are you starting to see like 50-50? Because we first got down here and it sounds like it
was all buyers.
it was all buyers. And obviously we see a shift in the law, right? So
Yeah. So
having the listing is a lot better. Obviously we don't know because the laws just shifted.
we don't know. The laws just shifted. We'll obviously go into that as well. But since I have been here now, this is going to be year 3. A lot of the buyers that I brought down are now looking to either upgrade or sell or whatnot. So I am building a name where I am selling a lot more properties. So I would say it's 50-50. But I will be honest, I love working with buyers. I love going on that journey with them. because I can be in their shoes in any aspect of it, either it being their first time homeowner or moving to their, next property or getting an investment property or buying a home for their parents. Like I've done all of this.
Yeah, go on the offense and go for the hunt.
Right.
It's just like, you're like, okay, you want this area, and then you could just hunt through the database and bring them to great homes, where a lot of folks are bad at that. Like I remember when I moved down here from New York, I literally told the individual, I was like, I want a condo, right? It's probably not gonna be on the water because I can't afford that. I just
Right.
want an investment property. I don't have children yet. I'm tiptoeing to potentially moving down here, and I want something on the newer side. And he brought me to all these old school apartments, and I was like, "What did
It's
you
like
do?
they don't even listen.
Like, did you not listen to anything?" And eventually, I had to look them up myself, and I ended up buying in Boynton Beach, Casa Costa. It was a new condominium, and it was being restructured because of the cult. Just in general, the old company who had it went in foreclosure. So
Right.
then, related group had to come in, buy it out, change the name, and I looked at it as a great deal because they were giving so many incentives. But like, he couldn't just show me like that, like one in Boca. One, because there's not many high rises,
Right.
right? Like Delray doesn't have high rises. Obviously, West Palm Beach does. Fort Lauderdale did. So, but he just failed. I met him in Boca, and he just took me on a journey looking at really old apartments, and he just totally misunderstood what I was looking for, and then I had to do it myself,
Right.
right? And then eventually, I hired someone. Then that person helped me,
Right.
But I completely see where you're coming from. Where do you think the laws are going right now? All of a sudden, your buyer, you have to say, hey, you're going to pay me. It's not going to come from the seller. That's the new law for everybody listening.
Well, okay. So the law is that technically, the way it's been done in the past is that the listing agent, when they come to get a listing, their commission includes a co-broker.
Yep.
But technically, the seller never had to agree to it. There was never anyone that said you have to offer 6%. And by the way, in all the years, I've never seen 6%. It's always been around 5%.
Yeah.
So they've never had to offer. Now it's going to be that when I go to, let's say, hey, Jason, I'm going to list your house, and I'm only negotiating with you my fee as your listing agent. But I really do think we should offer a incentive, commission, compensation, let's call it compensation, for a buyer's agent, because you're not going to get as many people looking at this home if there isn't one.
Of course, you see this by for sale by owner. Like
Exactly.
No one goes. You just like, let's go around that one.
Exactly. So it's always existed. There have been for sale by owner properties before, but not as much as when you're listing it with someone. So now you cannot list compensation on the MLS, which is how the buyer's agent would always see if there's compensation being offered, which, by the way, the buyer could see as well, because you have access to Zillow and realtors.com and you see what they offer. So now what it's going to be is every time a buyer is interested and wants to work with an agent, the buyer's agent has to call each listing agent and say, are you offering? What are you offering? And they will tell you, we are offering X%. So first, what's really changed is that when an agent such as myself will go and speak with a potential buyer, they'll say, for you to go look at any property, like before someone could call you and say, can you show me this house, that house? And we would go. Now it has to be, great, I could show you this property, but you have to sign a showing agreement, which says, this is what I'm going to do for, these are my services.
Yeah.
And for my services, I expect to get paid X, right? Now, if the listing, if the seller is not offering X, then we can offer it into the compensation, into the offer, or we can look at another property that is offering. But this is what my fees are, and you can negotiate.
And is that a one-time deal? Like if I just call you out of the blue and say, hey, I want to go around today, or is it more like a listing agreement where it's saying for the next 3 months and it's an exclusive, or 6 months? Because once you start that process, I know all of a sudden, like, you're like, you just took this person to 30 homes,
right?
And now they're like, see ya 3 days later. And
which happens, by the way.
Yeah.
And now without agreements, this happens all the time as well.
So
a couple things we need to realize is showing agreements, buyer's agreements, exists in other states. It has for you.
I've signed one before,
right?
Because the person who took me on when I bought that condo literally said, like, I'm not taking you to 1 million condos,
right?
And up front, like, it's an exclusive. I'm taking you around.
Sound like you didn't take it to any.
That was the first
one.
one.
The second
the
one,
second one was good.
is the Zuckerman family.
Yeah.
Ryan
okay.
Zuckerman. because he was doing a lot in the commercial space,
Right.
doing development. And he's like, Jason, and he would get brought around and people would waste his time. So he's like, and it was a good thing. I actually liked it. At
Yeah.
first I was nervous because I'm like, wait,
100%.
what if, and again, me coming from New York,
Mhm.
I typically was disappointed in most people I would work with. Right. So
100%.
I was like, I'm not signing this agreement. He wanted to sign like exclusive for like 3 or 6 months. And I was like, timeout. So I had to put like an asterisk in there. And then just to be careful as like a back out. So I do understand how, people are going to be a little scared if
100%.
there's a long-term agreement with that individual. They don't hold their up end of the bargain. They don't call you back. They don't do showings, right?
So you can do one-time showing agreements, which I think, you can consider it like, swipe right to date or whatnot, like or you can do something more long-term. I think what I will see for most people is like, I'm only going to sign it for a week. After a week, let's see, where we're at. And then if they like how you work, they'll sign it for 3 months, 6 months. The goal obviously is not to waste anyone's time and to sign it for a decent amount of time. I will tell you, I generally get everyone under contract under 30 days, just because if you are laser focused on a client and you know exactly what they're looking for, this is not difficult.
I'm assuming it's a good time for marketing pieces towards this initiative
100%.
because now you could say, hey, try me for a week.
Right.
Right. And, if, just some extra incentives on that type of an agreement.
Right.
Like, and then at that point, if I don't find the home of your dreams, blank, right? Like you could really build a whole marketing campaign around this because other brokers are just going to, just follow the hurdle. I guess
Look,
is what I'm saying.
ultimately, I think this law is going to hurt buyers in the short term. Long term, I think we're going to figure it out, and ultimately,
It's going to be the same thing.
It's going to be the same thing.
Like,
But there are 3 types of people in this world. There are opportunists, and they're always opportunists, right? They're like, great, they're changing the laws. I'm going to have it work for me. These are the same people that do for sale by owners, or they go directly to the listing agent. They don't want to work with a buyer's agent. They're excluded. The bulk of people are, I don't like change. It's worked for all these years. If it's not broken, why fix it? Right.
Sure.
And the third are people who are like, I am so confused by this law. I need you to explain it to me because it is making me nervous.
Yeah.
Those are the people that we really need to educate. And I agree because agents are also confused. This has added more paperwork. It was supposed to add transparency for everyone. And I'm scared it's going to leave room for people to get really creative and be like, well, we are offering, but only if you give us this much money. Who is that going to hurt? That's going to hurt the buyers. And at the end, the sellers who are not going to sell their home in a timely manner.
I also think it protects the individual that calls up a place
Mhm.
and with certain listings, like, me, I'm aggressive. I see something I like. I call up and then they don't actually go out there with me. Right. There's just a lockbox on the door. Then I go in to purchase that property and I'm like, wait a second. Like I have to pay that individual
Agreed.
3% on a $500,000 property, 15 grand's on the contract. I'm like, wait a second. This individual literally did nothing. They didn't even show up, to give me a tour. And it just kind of fielded it through a Zillow, right? Because how marketing could get very tricky where people have websites. Like I remember that condo I bought, Casa Costa, had 3 other websites. You couldn't tell which one was the developer website.
Mhm.
The other ones mimicked it so well. And it's a very good marketing tactic that they pulled off. But at the end of the day, lots of times they just sent you to the unit, made one call, boom. And I think a lot of that is protections for those type of agents out there that aren't putting in the work, I guess, doing the showings.
And so this law went into effect August 17th. It's going to be a wild ride right now. And a lot of agents are just, sitting back, doing business as usual, making sure to provide value and transparency to their clients and waiting to see what happens.
Yeah. Well,
What is this called, this law?
It's the NARS lawsuit settlement, where they were sued because they were, it was considered that there was collusion amongst agents. They were saying that sellers were paying sorry, hold on.
That's all right.
okay. Sensitive microphones for everybody listening.
Yes.
Okay. But I understand what you're saying is there was too much collusion where the fees on the agreements were showing 2%, 3%.
Right.
And pretty much like the sellers, were giving out 5-6% on their property. And then sometimes the buyers coming in, obviously, really didn't see what was going on behind the scenes with the commissions, and commissions get quite high on $1 million, $2 million, $5 million.
100%.
So this is a state law.
It's nationwide.
Yeah, that's a very big
okay.
deal.
Yeah, it's a big
This
deal.
has been all over. This kicks in when did it
You
kick
said
in?
August
It kicked in
17th.
August 17th.
Yeah, so really recently. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm out of the real estate market right
Yeah.
now, but let me ask you a question. You're a political science major.
Mhm.
What did you not learn in school? What could you have learned in school that would have made your entrepreneurial journey much easier?
That's a great question. So I think that the things that you really learn to be successful, you're never going to learn in school, right? So I feel the best thing you can learn, or I don't know if you learn it, you just have it, or over time with experience you get, is really emotional and social intelligence, right?
Okay.
Knowing how to read a room, knowing how to see what people are saying when what they're not saying, right? What people actually don't say is actually the thing you need to hear most, right? And so a lot of those things just comes with experience. When you go to school, even in real estate, it's all theories, it's all concepts, right? Until you get into the workforce, until you start actually doing transactions, when you realize what's entailed for you to be successful.
Okay. So there nothing really networking. Did you learn about networking
No,
as an undergrad?
that's crazy,
What's a
right? That should be like, course 101, really,
Right.
but they don't really focus on that. I mean,
Mhm.
they want you to deal with the alumni and all that, but really it's not about go out there and meet as many people as possible, right?
Mhm.
Open up every door and see where it leads you.
Exactly.
Well, that's a good tie into our commercial break
Right.
that we're going to hear from the Owl app. We get back, we're going to jump to our next segment of the show.
Join the fastest growing
Sorry.
community of professionals on the internet with Owl. Access new networks and otherwise unreachable professional contacts through the one-on-one call feature on the app. Scroll through the list of available professionals and join them for a quick call to build rich connections, expand invaluable relationships, and to broaden your professional landscape without needing lofty referrals. Owl, we bring vetted pros to your doorstep 24/7 on demand. Join our community by signing up at owl.com today.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Shrimp Tank. So, Sarah, this element of the show is called What's Hot. So, we're going to jump into a topic, dive into why you believe it is hot for your business. So, when it comes to real estate agents, I often see the same marketing strategies all the time. It's the pamphlets in the mail, right? Some do small ones, some do big ones, some do booklets, some show you pricing. And then, of course, social media is all over the map, right? And then you see a lot of in-person stuff. Like I go to the local fairs in Parkland and I see the booth set up. So I'm just going to go right out and say, what's hot with your marketing that's different than others?
What's hot with my marketing? That's a really good question. I actually don't like doing mailers. I think it's a waste. I think people get bombarded with a million things in the mail and it just goes in the garbage or people don't even see it. So I really try to personalize. I actually try to hit up small groups of people. So I mean, I don't know if it's really considered marketing, but what I end up doing is events, right? So I will do like a yearly thing where I'll take the people who I just done sales with, and I'll set up like a cooking class in Boca, and then have a nice dinner with them.
That is marketing and networking.
It is marketing
It
and
is.
network. I mean,
Because you
yes,
get to know people more, and less people are doing that. Everyone's trying to do the easy stuff. The
Of
easy
course.
stuff is hiring companies, send out 5,000 mailers. The hard thing is to invite 20 people and then deal with their schedule to get the 10 of them into
100%.
a room together to do this cooking class, and like 2 cancel the day of, and you're like, this is annoying.
And I have to pay for it. It's
And then-
fine.
And then
It's
being
part of
on
business.
while you're at the event. But while you're at the event, sometimes getting to know those 8 people that attended
Mhm.
is more important than sending out those 5,000 flyers,
Right.
Because 1 out of 8, that's all it takes to then do business with you. And then it's a repeatable process. So
Right.
I'm a big fan of the smaller events
Right.
because, the results end up showing high ticket sales, right? That's what you're in.
Right.
I'm in that same space, financial services. And,
Mhm.
and often that strategy works a lot better than following the herd, which is mailers and social media posts. Like the social media posts, aren't working as much anymore because
No.
everyone's got AI. And
What were you using for
everyone's-
social media? Is it not hot at all for you now, or that was just their
No,
way
I
you
mean,
established?
it's the way I established it's hot. I mean, I think it's credibility. I think it, do I see a bunch of leads and sales because of it? Not really.
What did
but
you use? What social media did you use?
I mean, I have a social media manager who uses Canva and she sets everything up. And also Compass actually provides us with a lot of social media marketing
I
material.
wasn't sure
that
if
we
it's
use.
Instagram or
Yeah.
Facebook.
Oh, sorry. Instagram, Facebook, but they all tie in together.
Okay,
I
yeah.
haven't done TikTok because I just feel I'm too old. But I think TikTok actually allows you to really engage more with your viewers, but you have to be on it all the time, right? Which I just don't have the time to do with 4 kids and 2 jobs. It's not going to happen.
So you don't send mailers out to me asking to buy my house,
No.
or asking me to sell my house. Excuse me. Right. So is that something that, I mean, I found that to be so ridiculous, but that was what was going on when you didn't have any stock.
I mean,
right?
it's still
Any supply.
happening. People are still doing this. I get at least 2 a day from agents sending things out, and it's not like I don't send, because it would be foolish for me not to farm in my area. I'm sure you got my flyer last month, but I don't.
I threw it in the garbage.
I'm sure you did. and that's, it's a really expensive thing to do,
Right.
and for you to see any results, you have to be consistent. So it has to be worth it for you. And I just don't think that's how people choose an agent today. I don't think
Right.
anyone's going to look at my flyer and say, oh, this girl, she looks like she'd be good. Let's give her a call. Because everyone's got a cousin, a brother, a friend, a neighbor who's an agent that they're going to call first. So what makes you
The
stand
relationship.
out from others?
Right. And what they're sending is basically, we just sold this house
Mhm.
for $3.1 million
Right.
in your neighborhood. Great. Good for you.
Exactly. I did that, and I'm going to try to do that for you.
Yes. If I was even going to want to sell my house.
Right.
But
Right.
if you put most people on the spot, like if I say, Roland, if you were to sell your home, right, you already have those 3 real estate professionals in your mind.
Well, the one
I-
who was our
I do.
buyer's agent. Yeah. He did
I
a good
do.
job a few years ago. So you go back to him probably.
Repeat. But if you move to a new area, it's usually the group of people you're around. It's the one you play golf with or pickleball with.
Exactly.
It's the one you play poker with, whoever it might be. It's like whoever's around you at that time in life,
Mhm.
right? Because those are the people that you always keep hearing from about real estate,
Right.
right? So what you're doing with the cooking class, I think, is the right play, right? And staying away from the standard marketing procedure. Now you could do all of the above,
Right.
right? Once you get a certain amount of revenue in, I do think there gets a point where you could automate a lot of stuff.
Right.
Some of it kind of sings well together. Very few people could pull that off, but I have seen it.
I've
where
seen it too.
You
And
have someone who has a PR company getting them in the local news,
Mhm.
right? Then they're doing the flyers, they're doing even the booklets,
right.
and then they're doing the local events because they have a whole team backing them, so they don't have to show up at the events themselves.
Right.
And they're decking out the cars, and then on top of that, they're doing the cooking class. So, like, if you really get to that like entire full theme, it's quite impressive, but very, very difficult to get everything, because then all of a sudden you got to deal with staff, which
Right.
can be really difficult, because staff, as you know, one day it's great, the next day it's not, and then you're always putting out just fires running a business. So
Right.
there's more moving parts, more cancellations, and you have to be on 24/7, right?
Yeah. And my feeling with this is at some point it will be automated for me. I will have the mailers and the posts and the e-blasts and all of that, which I do,
Yeah.
but it'll be more consistent. And that's where you're going to see your business grow. But for now, it is all about relationships and proving yourself. I do not want to be like every other agent that's on, in Parkland or in Boca, that you're like, what differentiates you from someone else? And I say, you know what? Work with me for a week and I'll show you what's
So
different.
you're in the relationship business. So what's the hottest way to create new relationships? Because I think people really don't talk about that much, right? Everyone's talking about relationships, but it's like, I have a buddy that plays golf all the time and
Right.
bumps into new golf partners by design, right?
Right.
Nowadays, like, pickleball is skyrocketing.
100%.
So, like, I don't use pickleball for much of my network, but it happens naturally, actually,
Right.
because new guys are coming out to the court,
Mhm.
and afterwards you're BSing, right? Poker, same way. But like, what are ways intentionally that are hot to really get in front of a new crowd week in and week out to fill your funnel with opportunities to even get them to come out to lunch? And one example, of course, is podcasting, right? We're doing it right now.
We're doing it right now.
Yeah. So what are the ways, I guess, that you are doing it from the beginning of the funnel, because you got to
So-
fill it up every month.
Right. Look, I'm I'm fortunate. I have 4 kids in different schools, so I have, different groups of people that I can meet and network with. But I think it's really important for you not to come off as a salesperson, because people can detect when you are only, talking to them or being friends with them because you want something from them. You have to be genuine. You cannot, upon the first meeting of someone, sit there and be, I'm a real estate agent. Let me talk to you about, why you should use me to sell your house.
Especially the real estate industry.
Exactly.
But look at it. I'm in the financial services. Same
It's
thing.
same
So
thing.
I'm used to what you're speaking about.
100%. So it has to be sort of unintentional, and you have to meet people on a very different level to gain their trust. Then you start talking about what you can do professionally. But networking events, like I'm fortunate, Compass makes us do tons of networking events where we have to go, to different networks in Florida, but as well out of state if we want to. So, and even now, like with Cindy had me come out to that event, and I'm going to do something later today in AI, right? Like it has nothing really to do with real estate, but it's interesting, and you meet new people and you put yourself out there, and you never
A
know.
very important thing that you said is putting yourself at a different level than others. I picked up on that, which is very important. So when I started the podcast with Roland, and Roland agreed, we all saw it, that we were going to do something different than others out there. And then it puts us in a position to create a great relationship, because we're creating a unique experience with the shrimp tank, as an example. When I do our local events, like I found a niche. I'm like, no one's doing interactive podcast booths out there. They're all doing podcasts typically on Zoom, right? But that, again, when we're out there, then it puts us at a different level. So what you're speaking about, like the cooking classes, or when I met you at that event, you were on stage, right? So you're intentionally saying, like, no one typically likes to be on stage. Like you gotta think about what you're gonna write. You gotta practice a little bit. You don't want to come off the wrong way, too salesy, right? Especially in the real estate profession, and you have to give value to the audience listening. So I think it's very important what you just said is really just putting yourself, when you're at these networking events, at a different level, and thinking outside the box when it comes to marketing, because things shift so quickly today. Right. Like podcasting 6-7 years ago, when me and Roland kicked off the shrimp tank, like we were the only ones in town doing interview shows. And now, everyone's caught up. So what are we going to do? We're going to shift. Right. We're now taking an entrepreneurship class, and we're going to have them sit in the coming months, and we're redesigning, the show elements to kind of say, now, they think they all caught us. Nope. Now we're going, 100 miles an hour the other direction. And they're going to be like, wow, like I should do this with my podcast or the interactive shows. Roland, what are your thoughts about all this?
Well, I was going to change the subject.
Oh, okay.
A little bit.
Go for it.
Well,
switch gears on us.
I've been reading up on the NAR settlement. I won't ask you about that.
Right.
But I've got my FAQs here. I'm educating myself. I apologize for being so ignorant about that.
You were away. Give yourself a break.
True. Well, it's been going on for a few months. What is I'm going to drill down and tell me the hottest place to buy a property right now? Geographically, location wise, what is the hottest place in South Florida to buy a house?
Honestly, house, I think Delray is on fire. I think that you're seeing a lot of
still.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And not just East. I think West Delray is also, closer to the thoroughways, so people can get to Palm Beach, or if they need to get to Miami. You're seeing a lot of young people moving down here for work and different opportunities, and they love being in Delray.
So out Atlantic Avenue and out whatever that one is before you get to Atlantic Avenue going north. I can't remember the name of it. Out that way.
Right.
Okay. How about these gated communities that have these HOAs? I'm looking at some of these prices of various places, and is that lowering the sale price of these when you have these HOAs stuck on top of it? Are people kind of shying away from that, or are they kind of going for that?
I think it's cyclical, because, prior to COVID, maybe that was the case. Now people like the idea of being in a gated community with these amenities and feeling, that everything's uniform and taken care of. And so people are looking towards it. But as we deal with assessments and other issues, and as these communities get older, they do lose value over time, for sure. But the newer ones, as we know, are hot, and people are all trying, even like country clubs, right? Before, if you were to buy in a country club, the homes, I was told, could be, the condos could be as low as $1, right? Because you were paying the capital contribution and the
Building a new
right and the fees.
building.
But now, I mean, some of these homes cost more than the homes that are not in country clubs, and on top of that, you have to pay, sometimes north of $200,000 plus very hefty yearly fees to the country clubs.
Right.
So it really depends on where you are in, the real estate cycle and what's going on in the world. And it's hot. It's still hot. People want to live in country clubs and in gated communities in this area, in these parts of South Florida.
So circling back to your cooking class,
Uh-huh.
how do you pivot to selling them what you want to sell them on? Well, how do you do that? Do you just say, here I am, and then, oh, by the way, I'm a realtor, and
Well,
they'll come up with that? Or is there a selling piece to this? How do you do this?
I mean, I'm giving away all my secrets, and now
Oh, you're on the
if any
shrimp
of my
tank. Well, you had to
clients-
plead the fifth next time.
yeah. So I'm not selling myself. I would like to think that, it speaks for itself. I'm doing this. You have to do it knowing that you may not get a single thing out of it. I am simply showing gratitude and appreciation to my clients who have worked with me, and I'm spending time with them. I'm connecting with them versus just sending them a flyer or a gift card for their birthday. And, this sort of experience and memory hopefully will allow them to think of me when they're like, you know what? I'm looking for investment property. I'm looking to move my parents here. My friends are moving. You need to work with them.
Mm.
So, and that has happened. I mean, a couple of weeks after doing something with them, they'll call me up and say, look, this person's coming into town. I want you to meet with them.
Mm-hmm. So it's sort of like basically just being in contact with people
Right.
you may not have any short-term dealing with.
Right.
But just the idea is, hey, I'm still here. Kind of thing. Yeah.
And I think, to me, I think that adds more value than, putting up a booth somewhere and trying to compete with the 5 other people that are out there doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that would be a good direction for the shrimp tank to go, as we've talked about, having those sorts of things.
I got to ask this one, but what's hot about doing 2 things at once, right? You have a full-time occupation, it sounds like,
Yes.
across the country,
I
plus this. And, most other brands would not be okay with that, right? And obviously they know about it.
Yes.
That it's
Yes.
not like you're hiding it, right? And you can't hide it. In
No.
the real estate profession, your name's everywhere.
Everywhere.
You have not
Everywhere.
hid this at all. So, they're saying it's okay. You get your job done, and that's all we care about, of course, or they would have fired you. So
Right.
I guess what's hot about having 2 occupations at the same time? You're very entrepreneurial.
Listen, I believe that you should have multiple streams of income. And when you're an entrepreneur, there can be weeks, months that you have no business, and there are months that you don't know what to do with yourself. It also allows me to be a little selective with who I work with, right? Because I can do anything I want to in terms of, if it doesn't work out for me in real estate, I can go be director of marketing or director of sales for some company. But I do it because I love it. And when my clients meet me, they know that I'm doing it because I'm all in and I want to provide the best value. So having 2 jobs, I mean, I don't know how long that can last, but for now, it allows me to have multiple streams of income.
That's a good answer. And then I guess my last one for this segment is what's hot about hiring a PR firm, right? Often real estate professionals don't want to pay that bill
Right.
to hire a PR firm. And of course, if you go down that road, there's a ton of benefits with the right PR firm.
With the right
Some
PR
PR firms are a dime a dozen, no different than real estate professionals.
Right.
Right. But you went down that road and hired a PR firm. So what's hot about it?
So you were discussing what I was doing for my marketing piece. So that was one of the things I decided to spend money on marketing. Now, maybe I could have spent money on just doing a year of mailers, but I wanted to have more of a national outreach versus local, which is ironic because in real estate you do want to be local. But I wanted people to see that I can get clients from anywhere, and I wanted to show credibility and to really have a platform to showcase my personality and who I am. And I thought that PR would be the best way to do that through articles, podcasts, whatever, news segments.
Awesome. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break here for one of our sponsors. When we get back, we're going to jump into Roland's favorite part of this show called Plead the Fifth.
Ooh, can't wait.
Okay, future and current Florida Atlantic founders. The fall 2024 Entrepreneur Boot Camp kicks off Wednesday, September 25th. If you're interested in developing your business, join our 8-week class. We meet once a week for 8 weeks to learn essential skills to validate your business model, create a business model canvas, learn how to pitch to investors, and many more resources that will help you on your journey to become a successful entrepreneur. Students are free for this boot camp. Florida Atlantic faculty, staff, and alumni at the very low price, discounted $150. And community founders with no connection to FAU, make a connection. It's only $300. The boot camp starts September 25th, ends November 13th. It's from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. in the Boca Raton campus. There's limited seating, so check it out soon by going to business.fau.edu/Adams Center or call 561-297-3653. The FAU award-winning entrepreneur boot camp.
Everybody, welcome back to the Shrimp Tank. As a reminder, you can call our guest Sarah on the Owl app. Next week, she will be the featured expert, and at some point in her work week, she will make herself available to chat with one-on-one. And that's one of the coolest things about this podcast show, that we tie it over to the Owl app itself. So Sarah, on this segment of the show, it is called Plead the Fifth, right? So you can only plead the fifth one time. And then after that, you can't say those words anymore. So you got to tell us the truth. Okay.
Okay.
So
No, you don't.
yes, you do.
You have to
never-
answer the question.
We've never had
You'll
a guest
never
plead the
know.
fifth
You
this
just
way.
have to answer the
We
question.
can't air this episode. We got to take it down. All the content gets erased. It never happened if you plead the fifth 2 times. That's the rules of this element of the show. Okay, so let's go with your husband for a second. I know he had some tech startups in his past. He's got a tech background. Share your biggest pet peeve of your husband's entrepreneurial ideas. Right, often, us men, we got a lot of ideas and we want to do everything and create $1 billion brand. Especially, I know your husband, because he's in tech. Has high expenses with high rewards. So tell us the biggest pet peeve, when your husband comes to you with one of these ideas, or if you don't want to answer, say, I plead the fifth.
How much money it's going to cost me. We've funded a few companies, but it's okay. I mean, I'm happy for him to do it, and every experience is a learning experience. I don't consider it a failure. I consider it just a stepping stone to get to the next place. And every time he spends money on that, I think about what I can buy myself for that.
My wife says anything about me with Owl. So I guess to piggyback that one, will you tell us the largest amount he lost on one of these tech startups that he tried? Or if you don't want to answer, just say, I plead the fifth.
I don't think he's really lost anything. Honestly, I feel like they have all been helpful, and they had some level of success. Nothing that we really made a ton of money on, but they look, if I add up all the times we go out to dinner or just do silly things, it probably ends up being around the same.
Okay, so nothing substantial.
Nothing substantial.
Well,
More his time. He spends a lot of time working on it.
Give me your sincere feedback on my commercial that I just did.
I loved it.
Oh, okay, good.
I would have pled the fifth if I were you.
All right, yeah, I think, well, that's always an alternative. All right, and I asked this question to Jason from time to time too. You're a proud New York City native. Tell us what you are proud of about New York City, for those of us who have a different opinion of New York City.
Well, I was born and raised in New York until I was 26, but I've lived in Los Angeles for, almost 20, well, a little less, about 18 years. And honestly, I feel more of a Cali girl than New York. But if I were to say what I am most proud of about New Yorkers are how real and genuine New Yorkers are.
Okay. They'll tell you what they
exactly. Think. Which you actually don't.
Where in New York were you raised, by the way?
Brooklyn.
Okay.
Born and raised.
What would you say would be your biggest failure as an entrepreneur?
Well, that's a hard one. So many.
Really?
Honestly, my biggest failure would be not following through and chickening out on certain things. Just thinking that you don't have enough confidence to do it and just, finding excuses not to go, the extra mile with certain things. And then ultimately things fizzled out because of that.
Could you give us an example?
Yeah. So when I was 30, I started a company by myself I represented photographers for children. I mentioned that. And I did that for about 2-3 years. I didn't I didn't lose money, and which I was very proud of. I was able to sort of, sustain my business, and then I took on a someone who I would partner with, and we could have taken it to the next level, but I got tired and I wanted to do something else, so I walked away, and I regret that because I tell people all the time that you're really going to be successful when you're in something for a long time and people start recognizing your name in an industry and they start seeing you as like someone who is there who provides value. And I think I sort of had one foot in and one foot out, and so because I really didn't stay in it long term, I let it fail, and I regret that. I think I could have really done something with that. Now I have no regrets because I truly love what I do. And with this settlement, I know things are going to be difficult. I know that it's going to be pretty rocky in the beginning, but I'm sure, for me personally, it's going to be fine.
Well, I guess we could get you to plead the fifth on giving us all your opinions about that settlement.
Yes, I am pleading the fifth right now.
Hold
Okay,
on, I have a
good.
good one. I was lining
Well,
up.
then now
She's from
now
Parkland.
she has to answer this one.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of professionals in Parkland, like they advertise like crazy.
Oh, I should have waited to plead the fifth. I should have waited.
Which one is the most annoying one out of all in Parkland? Because you have a couple that are just like they are ruthless,
They
right?
are ruthless.
Like I get like friend requests on Facebook. I'm like, I'm not your friend.
I know.
Like you're in the real estate profession. I get it. You have different pages you set up. Even like they own like Parkland Talk. Some of them, whichever ones I don't even know.
Yeah.
But you know who I'm talking about.
I know.
So
I
Well, I'm going to give you a lifeline on that if you want.
one. No, she didn't plead the fifth on the other one, but on this one, are you going to plead the fifth, or you want to answer?
I'm going to be diplomatic about it. I'm not going to say names. I think people who are in Parkland, know. But I will say this: love them or hate them, God bless them. They figured out an angle. They figured out a marketing strategy, and they went for it, and it works for them. And people who really don't like them, I mean, you may not like someone personally. I don't really know them personally. I don't care to. But they're good at what they do because they don't care what other people think, and they are, going their way, and they get clients.
Give us a hint on what kinds of businesses these are.
No, we're talking about real
Real
estate.
estate.
Oh, real estate.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's
I
at
thought it
least
might be Jason.
there's at least 4 that we're speaking
Right.
about, and every town has those.
Oh, okay.
Every
right?
4
But,
uptown.
but Parkland specifically has some that they're everywhere.
Yeah.
She knows what I'm saying. With the same mailers, the cars are wrapped, like they're at the bagel store on the television. Right. There's certain real estate professionals that hyper focus on local, and they might own like 4 companies in Parkland, 70% of all transactions. I'm just making that number up, but she knows what I'm speaking about. And a lot of towns have that. So try to get her to call one of them out.
I'm not going to
She's
call
thinking about
No,
one. She
because
has one on the
listen,
rolling.
like we said, this is a relationship business, and part of your relationship, yes, you want to serve your clients, but your success is also going to be dependent on your relationship with the other agent. So,
Right.
Throwing someone under the bus or
Of
being
course,
rude,
you
them
never know
doesn't
when you
help.
have your client coming in. Now all of a sudden it's awkward. So I
Exactly.
completely agree.
So,
And you got to respect the data. Like they're great marketers.
they're great marketers.
And they're selling a lot of homes. And I always say data don't lie. Right. So you could have your opinion about someone, but you only know it from a surface level.
Exactly.
Right. And we see this in all professions. We see this in insurance sales, financial services. And lots of times when people are haters, it is a lot of jealousy, right? Lots of times, like they're the ones that want to pull off getting their name everywhere, right? And get that level of success. Because lots of times, right, the data supports they're killing it. Like they're at Compass.
How can you be jealous? Like seriously, it's bad on you because you're not doing the same thing. So
and everyone has opportunity to do it.
And like I said, they're also successful because they've been in it for a long time. They've built relationships. They're considered an industry expert because they're there. They haven't been like, okay, I was here for 2 years and now I'm a teacher, or now I'm this, or now I'm that. They're in it. For good or bad, they're sticking with it. And so, like I said, my failures were that I just didn't want to stick with something.
Okay. Well, Sarah, thanks for joining us here on the Shrimp Tank today. For our audience listening, can you share with us your social media handles, your website, so they get in
Yes.
touch with you, of course?
So it's the same. It's Sarah Sells Sofla, FLA, a little bit of like LA.
Yep.
And it's my website and Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the same.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us today. Everybody listening, we'll be back at 1 o'clock next Wednesday. Take care.
Thank you.
Feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.